What's up, everyone? Um, Hopefully you can all hear me. Let's see. Can someone just throw a message in the chat and see if you can hear me okay? Yeah? Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Much appreciated. Loud and clear. Love it. Thank you so much. So sorry for keeping you in the waiting room there. Just wanted to give a little bit of time for people to join. So give me a little bit of time to get started, but new people joining should hopefully come straight in, so it won't bother us. So I've got about an hour. I've got some slides to take you through. I've got a little demo to give you as well, and then hopefully we'll have some time for questions at the end. So yeah, but this should be fun. This is the first one that I'm doing. I just posted on LinkedIn for almost no reason. I think I was just bored the other day and decided to post, and strangely got way more responses than I expected. And then I was like, okay, you know what? Like, I'll see if I can host this little thing. I had a couple of friends reach out and say, tell me more. And so I thought, okay, I'll put this thing on, see if I can get like, I don't know, 5, 10 people, and had way more interest than I thought. So yeah, it's been super nice. So thank you all for joining. I really, really appreciate it. I've got people coming from all over the country, all over the world, which is super nice. People with no experience in AI, people with lots of experience. I've got marketers, I've got investors here, loads people, videographers. I've got people working in the NHS. So yeah, it is awesome to have everybody here. So I hope you enjoy. I'll get started. I'll jump straight in. So let me just try and share my screen. Again, I would love it if you wouldn't mind just let me know when you can see my screen. Let's see. Give me a second. Give me a second. Can you guys see me okay? Let's see. Can you see, and you can see my screen okay? Yeah? Amazing. Thank you, everyone. So let me get started. I'm going to go through this, throw questions in the chat. I would love it also if maybe some people will connect out of this. I would love it if you would put like a super, super small introduction to say like, hi, my name's James. I'm working with design. I have a company called October, just so other people can see who you are, maybe find a way to reach out after this. But yeah, this is the plan. I hope this works properly. I've never used Zoom to do this kind of thing before, and there's way more people here than I expected. So let's give it a try and see how it goes. So this is an introduction to using artificial intelligence. So this is something that I've been interested in for a long time, but to be honest, the ability to build things to the level that we're at now hasn't really existed beyond really like a month ago, a couple of months ago, and it moves super, super quick. It's a topic that what you learn can get out of date super, super fast as well. And so the things that I'm going to show here, I wouldn't also be surprised if in a month's time or 2 months' time, they were already out of date. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think this initial one, this introduction class, is basically going to be talking about it kind of from a high level, a lot of like conceptual stuff as well. And the stuff that you learn here, I hope you'll be able to use it going forward, regardless of if tools change or methods change. I think it's more about the ideas of understanding what you can do and how you can apply it to your work or your daily life stuff as well. So yeah, so that's what it is. And I'm going to feature a few tools down at the bottom here, like I mentioned, ChatGPT and Claude and Replit, blah, blah, blah. But if you guys like this one, I'll do some more complex ones as well. So yeah, let's see how this one goes to start with. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. So in case you don't know me, my name's James. I am living in Lisbon right now. I've been a designer for 10 plus years, and I've been working with startups and venture capital funds, big tech companies, governments, for kind of all of that time, mostly as, like I mentioned, a designer doing UI UX stuff and designing apps and products and stuff. But the thing that's super interesting is like I've never been able to code. I've tried many times, and I had a large portion of my university class was about learning to code, which I basically refused to do. I didn't want to do it. It was super boring, and I didn't understand it. And so really the reason I've been so loud about this topic recently is that if me, someone who's actively fought against coding really, despite having to work with developers all the time. Um, I think it's super interesting that now people like me or anyone in this class, whether you've had any access to even to tech, really, is now able to build their ideas. I think that's the most interesting part to me. Um, so, like I mentioned here, I'm a designer. I'm not a developer. I'm not a coder. But now with these tools, I'm actually able to be those things as well. And that's where I think the future is really going with this stuff. Um, so let's hear a bit more about it. So, like I mentioned, I've been doing this stuff for maybe 3 months of like really, really solid learning and experimenting. Before that, I've just been testing stuff out, like messing around a little bit, doing a bit of reading, spending a lot of time on Twitter. But the chance to actually build stuff and have it working is much, much newer than that. You're really talking like 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, something like this. And so you can see that in 3 months of experimenting, this is the kind of path I've gone down. So building mini apps with Claude, and Claude is an AI tool, a little bit like ChatGPT. It's slightly different, but I'll show you how in a second. And then gradually, like as I learned a little bit more and I reached the kind of the barriers or like the blockades of each one, it pushed me to maybe I needed to work slightly differently. Maybe I needed to change the tools I was using. And it just kind of pushed me down this route of like gradually increasing complexity to the point where now like I am able to build web apps or iPhone and Mac apps. So stuff that actually like is a real product that you could actually release and sell and put in the App Store, and even using APIs. And I'll cover what APIs are a little bit later on if you haven't heard of those before. So yeah, we're going to mostly be talking about mini apps with Claude today. It's a good place to start. I don't think it's too complex, and it's something that literally, if you spent half an hour after this class or this video, whatever it is, you would be able to build something in Claude and have it done. I know that because I've spent all of today just messing around trying to come up with good ideas and examples I can show you, so it can easily be done in 20 minutes. Let's jump in. So this is what Claude looks like. So you just go to claude.ai, and it's like ChatGPT. It's got like a web version, and it's got an app. It's got a mobile website, so you don't need to be on your laptop to do it. You can do it from wherever. And it's really good. Like I said, it works like ChatGPT, but one thing that it's really, really good at is writing code. And if you've ever tried to build anything with ChatGPT, you'll know that you can spend like hours just building with the code and it will give you an error. You go back and give the error to ChatGPT and then it will give you another error. And so it's levels ahead of that in the sense where if you ask Claude to build something and to write the code for you, the chances that it's going to work first time is much higher, which is, I mean, everyone's happy, right? You save a bunch of time. So it has this chat box, you can jump in. It's very, very simple. I'm sure you all far smart enough to know how to use this. And what can you actually build with it? So I'll give you a demo in a second, but let's say you're planning a trip, you're going on holiday somewhere. You could come into Claude and say, build me a trip planner. I'm planning to go to Brazil. Show me what the weather is like in Sao Paulo and Rio. Give me a packing list that I can check off items as I pack them. Send me some good attractions there, some good restaurants, and then give me buttons to be able to navigate to those restaurants. This is the kind of thing that you could build super, super quick. And this one here is an example that we'll build this one together in a like a little bit. This one took maybe 20 minutes. You could build a game. So you could build like a little language learning app. I'm learning Portuguese at the moment, being in Lisbon. And so for this one, I just said, build me a Duolingo style app where I can match the words together and it will give me a score. And that's it. And this took, again, 20 minutes. And then maybe if I wanted to tweak it a little bit, I could say, now change the colors or make the buttons bigger or smaller or add icons and things. So these small iterations that you can do are very, very easy, and you see the changes in real time. And this is just a couple of examples that you could build. But those are fine for daily life stuff. But a big part of what I was talking about on LinkedIn and Twitter and stuff like this, I even posted this video on TikTok, is like, how is this useful to you in your work? And I think that's like a huge part of it. So, for example, let's say you got a PDF document here. This is one from LinkedIn about content marketing. Maybe you have no idea what you're actually reading. It's using a bunch of technical language. You don't have much experience in the area, but you want to actually understand it. You can say to Claude, build me a dashboard with the contents of this PDF, help me understand the content, make it beautiful, add some nice charts and things like that. And then give it 20 seconds or 30 seconds and it will build out like a mini app for you. And this is like a good example. I did one the other day for my girlfriend Jenny. She had some blood test results and we got it in this ugly PDF. It was just a bunch of numbers and it said, this is the range that you should be in, but it didn't really tell us much more than that. So I asked Claude just to kind of interpret it for me, give it to us in a nice dashboard, and it worked super well. It told us recommendations, it told us which ones were good, which ones were bad, it told us what we should change lifestyle-wise, diet-wise. It's really easy and really, really good at kind of getting it to interpret information. And this is personally is one of my favorite uses for it for work stuff. In my opinion, the future of work is really going to be much smaller teams. I don't think you're going to get like managers managing teams of 10 or 15 or 20 people. I think it's going to be much, much smaller teams of like 3 or 5 people. And each one is much more kind of supercharged by AI to the point where you may even be able to do the work or kind of like create the value, I guess, of 3 to 5 people for each individual person, which is huge. And I've got more about this point a bit later on as well. But one area that I think is really beneficial is being a generalist. So I think it's great if you can specialize in something and have like a really, really core like set of knowledge. But if you're a generalist and you're able to cover a lot of areas, even if it's just briefly, but you know how to be able to talk to AI, you know how to be able to write prompts, which are the messages that you give to AI. And more than that, that you're able to understand how you can use these tools to build stuff or fix problems. That is where I think there's going to be like tons and tons of value. And I think those people are going to get way ahead of the people who are maybe a little bit slower to adopt it, or maybe even just kind of outright refusing to get involved. And there's going to be a lot of those people, I can tell you for sure. I've had these kind of battles with many different types of technology before in teams I worked in. And so I can see AI being a huge kind of another problem like that you might need to fight the battle a bit. So just a few messages here to kind of spark some ideas, the kind of things that you could try to get started. Obviously, I gave you a few before, but maybe you want to rebuild Flappy Bird. If you remember Flappy Bird, you could do that. Give it a small prompt like this, just a single sentence that says, make a Flappy Bird style game called Peter's Paradise. Peter's our cat. And it will do it. And then it will give it to you. It might be a bit ugly or it might be missing the score or something like this. And you can say to it, okay, make it a bit more detailed, make the cat animate when it jumps or change the colors, that kind of thing. It's super easy to do stuff like this. Build an interactive dashboard, like I mentioned earlier. One really good one is I saw someone on Twitter say that they took a photo of their nephew's school calendar and then used that to turn it into a calendar file, which they could just open on their phone, and it added all of the events on the calendar straight into their phone. So for stuff like that, I think it's super useful and super interesting, where it's like a lot of it is just kind of how can you cut out really monotonous, boring tasks or stuff that's just kind of time consuming that you don't want to be doing. And that calendar one might only save you 5 or 10 minutes. But if you imagine you'll probably be surprised how many of these small tasks you have per day that are just boring or stuff that you don't want to do. I know that I have tons. And I've been trying to, like, over the last few months, even the last couple of years, is just find ways to automate it. For example, this is slightly separate to this, but I'm using a tool called Zapier where I can create automations. So whenever I get a new email in my work inbox, it shows that email to ChatGPT, gets ChatGPT to summarize it into just like a much shorter email that I don't really have to read, and then send it to me as a text. So I have a small chat on my iMessage on my phone, which says virtual assistant. And every time I get an email, I get a text, which is just a smaller version. And so it stops me having to spend loads of time in my email, which I hate doing. And so stuff like that took me half an hour or less even probably to make. And I think those are good examples. You can also do some cool stuff like 3D visualizations or asking it to make these kind of interactive like kind of charts and things that you can drag around. You can do tons of stuff. And to be honest, like I mentioned down here, if you have an idea or something that you think might be possible, I would say just try it anyway. Just send it a message, and the worst it can say is like, no, I can't do it, or it will just break, and then you say like, try again, but do this or whatever. So the good thing about AI is it doesn't get super upset, obviously, if you start harassing it, and if you start like telling it this sucks, like what you've made is broken, it will just keep on trying until you get it right. So yeah, feel free to harass it a bit. Um, so here's one example. This is probably the first thing that I made, and this was a few months ago, where I wanted to build a Chrome extension, and it was something that I needed to do to solve like a problem I had right at that moment, where I needed to be able to take high resolution screenshots of a website I was working on, and bring it into my design tool. And so there was one that did it, but it didn't do it exactly how I wanted. And so I came into, at the time, was ChatGPT. So it was actually even a little bit more of an annoying process than it was to use Claude. But basically, I just came straight into ChatGPT and said, can you build me a Chrome extension that lets me take a high-res screenshot and then save it to my downloads folder in one click? And it starts thinking, and then it starts writing. And literally about 8 to 10 minutes later, I had a Chrome extension installed in Chrome. I was using it. It was fully working. It was saving the screenshots to my downloads folder. And then that 8 to 10 minutes even includes the time of me asking it to tell me how to even build it or how to even install it into Chrome. And so I think that's so interesting. It's honestly is quite crazy. And I think the biggest step really to take with this stuff is just build one thing and get it working. And that doesn't have to take days. Once you've done the first thing, then you start thinking, okay, yeah, I've got these other problems. How can I try fixing these? Or even to be honest, now I'm just looking for problems to solve. I'm trying to even just create problems now. I'm like, what can I mess around with and find a way to fix? And I think that's a good way of like and just kind of improving how you understand this stuff. And like I said, the longer you do it, you understand what's possible. And that's huge, is just understanding what you could do or at least how to do it. So I went from that previous one, the screenshot extension, that was super basic. It did one super small thing, but literally, I think this was maybe a week later, I built this one. So every time I open a new tab on Chrome, it will use ChatGPT to find a Portuguese word that I haven't seen before and give me the definition of it. It will tell me the pronunciation of it, some background on the word, and then some example sentences. And then not only that, it will let me favorite the word. I can jump to it, see another one. It will show me the current words I've learned, how many I'm on, what my streak is. Just ways of kind of gamifying it a bit. And I'm having classes, but I wanted to do something a little bit extra outside that. And so this is like something that again is pretty small. It's just a Chrome extension, but you can see it. I even added some features like light and dark mode up here, or statistics and settings and stuff like this. So this, to go from something that was not working at all to something that was fully working, it didn't look quite like this did. It looked a little bit more rubbish. That took about 40 minutes. And so the first one took me 10 minutes. This one took me 40 minutes. That's not a huge jump to go from something that's to kind of this level of complexity. And the way that I like to think about these projects is, and I've definitely been guilty of this, and I've had some friends who are actually in this thing watching right now tell me, stop just telling it to do everything in one go. Break it up into small messages. Do it more iteratively. Ask it smaller questions and make smaller improvements, but it will be a nicer result at the end. So I think that's a good point. And so when I was building this, I knew that I had this core content in the middle, which it was going to get from ChatGPT, but I wanted to add these other features. But rather than just say, I want to build this thing with ChatGPT and it's going to give me all of these Portuguese words, and then I want a sidebar, and then I want light and dark mode as well, and I want all these controls, and I can favorite it, and I can get a streak and all this kind of stuff, and it also has to open on a new tab. Doing all of that in one go is definitely possible, and it's even worth trying sometimes, because sometimes you can get away with it, but sometimes it will just kind of stumble over it a little bit. It will struggle. It will get confused, and more than that, sometimes trying to fix those problems actually takes longer than just if you did it step by step. So this is the way I like to think about it. I like to kind of break it up. I like to kind of like imagine it and say like, well, what are these different components I'm going to need? Ask it to do this middle part with ChatGPT. Okay, that one's now done. That one's working. Now let's add the controls. Now let's add the light and dark mode. And so you're gradually like improving it. And I think that's like a good way. It's a good way to manage it, I think. And then, so I went from that to then again, I was trying to scratch another itch that I had myself, which was I wanted to create these small kind of iOS notifications, which I could give to people for ads. I had some friends that were doing a lot of marketing with Instagram ads, and they were using these ugly Canva style, like kind of ugly templates. And Canva is awesome, but these templates that they were using were not. And they had these notifications that looked super fake. The text was all wrong. The icons was all messed up. The corners was all super ugly. And so for me to have the idea of like, okay, is it possible for me to just build an app rather than me have to do it? Can I build an app that lets the marketers do it or the people running the ads? To build an app with this functionality where it's got all of these different options that you can choose, you can add custom images and stuff, and you can save the images. You can save the final kind of notifications, sorry. To build this as like a fully working thing, this one maybe took me like a day and a half or 2 days, which sounds like a lot longer, but it's a lot more complex. The funny thing with this one was it took me about 2 days to get that functionality, and then I broke it the next day, and then it took me about a week and a half to fix what I'd broken. And so that is a very common thing, I think, when you're getting started, and I think it's a valuable process to go through anyway. I had one of my best friends who is a developer or an engineer show me how to do version control and how to get it connected so I could roll it back to an earlier version, but still I wasted about a week trying to fix it. But you can see how I went from this previous one, which was a screenshot one. Then I was using this one with ChatGPT to show me the Portuguese words. And then on this one, I was able to go a bit further, have it on my phone, be able to show people when we were at dinner or whatever. I'm not sure if they cared, but I showed them anyway. And even be able to do stuff like sign in with Apple, like using Face ID. To me, that was cool. Like that was a big improvement. That was something that I was like, I wanted to work towards being able to do stuff like a normal app that I have on my phone does. And to be able to do those things and show people those things, that's like a big jump, I think. And it's a big like moment when you build something and it actually works in the way that you kind of hope to. And I think it's worth persevering to get to that point. So one of the interesting points about AI is that this is the worst that it's ever going to be. It's literally never going to be worse than this. It's only going to get better. It's only going to get faster. And it's only going to be able to do more than it is able to do now. And this stuff moves super, super quick. Just in the time since I started posting about this kind of class, whatever, on LinkedIn, OpenAI, who make ChatGPT, they released a new version, which is miles ahead of the previous version. And so the stuff moves super quick. And so I had to spend a bunch of time this week, like trying to understand how do I use that, what the differences are. And the point I want to make on this slide, which I think is worth remembering, is that if you spend a couple of weeks or even a few months at the moment working on this stuff, learning how to use it, how to understand it, learning, not even actually building stuff necessarily, but learning how to think about it and how you use the tools, really. I think that 2 or 3 weeks or months now is going to be worth tons more in a few years' time when other people realize that they've been left behind and they're frantically trying to learn. Joss, who is in this class right now, who I've been chatting with this week, gave me a great quote, and I promised I would credit it. So here you go, Joss. I think, or Joss thinks, it's as much about getting familiar with the tools as it is for the outcome. We're learning to ride a bike here. We're not looking to win the Tour de France. It's much more about how do I use this tool? How do I learn to make something rubbish, like some crappy little web app that does one tiny thing? But at least I know how to use the tool. And then in 6 months, when I've got another idea or I run into another problem, I know how to fix it faster. And then 6 months later than that, I have another problem, but I can fix that one even faster. And I think that's really is such a valuable point. And so I had to include this quote. It's using the tools is such a big part of it. And for a lot of people who don't have much experience in tech, haven't coded anything before, some of these tools can look quite complex, which is one of the reasons why I'm starting with Claude here. And I don't think that's a problem. I think you build up gradually increase the complexity, and I think that's really the best way to do it. And currently, the cost of building a good app for most people outside of tech is just too high. That's the reality of it, or at least that's been the reality until now. And what I mean by the cost too high, I mean it takes a lot of time. Either you have to learn to code yourself, which can take months or even years, or you need to pay a developer to do it. And then if the app actually it doesn't work at the end, or you release it and no one cares, maybe you release it and just you're fixing a problem that no one has. And that happens a lot. The cost of doing that is super, super high, and it's really like an expensive problem. However, when that cost of building the tech comes down to zero or near zero, the ability to build an idea is open to everyone. And this, I think, is such an interesting point. I'm super interested about not what the apps that startup founders or people working in tech or even people like me are building. I'm super interested about what are the nurses in the NHS building, like what can they build? What ideas do they have that no one else is seeing? What about people in countries that aren't as developed as others, like that maybe behind in some areas? How can they solve problems and build tools that other people just wouldn't have seen? I think that's so interesting. And giving those people the ability to build these tools, not just on a laptop, which is super expensive, or in their office, but from a mobile phone that just needs to be connected to the internet is insane. And I'm sure tons of people here are familiar with the benefits of kind of open banking, and a lot of countries that were previously unbanked being able to have access to bank accounts. That has been a game changer for so many countries, that giving those people then the ability to build software or build companies, especially if they don't have to think about it as apps and software and code, if they can just ask a question and get a product back that solves what they're dealing with. I think that's huge. I think it's super, super interesting. And once you get to that point where everyone is able to build anything, and we're not quite there yet, but it's probably coming pretty soon. Once you get to that point, the value of the tech itself goes down because anyone can recreate it. But the value of the design, a good experience for people, something that people like to look at and they like to use, the ability to distribute a product and market it and get people using it. And even just the idea of attention, someone who is a content creator or someone with a big audience, those people, the value of their skills goes way up. Because if you've got, I don't know, a Chrome extension for taking screenshots, and you've got 100 of those on the Chrome Web Store or whatever they call it, Chrome App Store. If you've got 100 of those on there, having someone who knows how to talk to the audience, or someone who knows that they've already got a huge audience of designers, let's say, who need to be able to take screenshots, being able to access those people and get it in front of them is huge. And so I think content creators they're pretty big right now. Obviously, they've been big for like a long time already, but I think the value that they have of having an audience, and especially like more of like a curated audience that has like a niche and a specific interest, is going to be crazy. I saw this guy on Twitter the other day, and he had a bunch of really good tweets, but I tried to break it down into this kind of same idea that I was talking about a second ago. So there was a time before YouTube where if you wanted to make a video and make a film, let's say, make a short film or even something longer, you needed to be a huge video studio or production company, and it was kind of reserved to people in Hollywood who had these giant budgets. When YouTube came out, and people had smartphones or even just like crappy webcams, everyone was suddenly able to become a filmmaker and be able to record and edit and release videos with completely free hosting, no technical barriers at all, and just put it out there for people to see. we're rapidly getting towards a point where coding and building apps and building tools and building digital products is going to reach that same point. And it people are doing it all the time. People are learning to use TikTok. There's tons of really, really old people on TikTok, which I think is amazing, who don't really use technology at all. They're not using social media, but they start posting videos on TikTok, or someone in their family does it, their niece or their nephew or something, or their grandchildren. And then quickly they build up an audience. And that's something that they never would have had the opportunity to do. And I think that is like a really interesting idea as well. I think this is something that definitely interests me, is like, when are we going to reach that point? And I think it's coming very, very soon. Um, so I talked a little bit earlier about APIs. And so if you haven't heard of an API before, it's basically some code that lets you connect your app to another service and access their features or whatever it is that they do. So let's say you wanted to rebuild ChatGPT or some kind of ChatGPT style app. And I did this a few weeks ago. I built a small ChatGPT clone essentially for my phone because I wanted to test it out. And obviously I ended up breaking it. But I was able to do this super, super quick. And the way that I did it is by connecting it to a bunch of different APIs. And previously, an API is something that was way out of my limits of what I knew. But now you are able to do it. And it's really as easy as saying, like, implement ChatGPT in this app, or like, I want to be able to log in with Google, and then just hit enter and just let it go. And so, for example, let's say in this app over here, you can see my profile picture in the top left corner. Maybe I wanted to log in and I wanted to be able to log in with Google. Like I mentioned, I would use the Google authentication API, and that would be as easy as saying, okay, get me the documentation for logging in with Google, or even just connect the API to Google to log in and do it. A lot of the really interesting point about the tools that are coming out now, and Claude is definitely one of them, but there's some that are a bit more advanced. I mentioned earlier, the ones like Replit and another one called Cursor. They're a little bit more technical, but the thing that's super powerful is being able to write code by talking to it in natural language. And that ability to talk in natural language is what opens it up to everybody. Let's say I wanted to give people some pro features where they could upgrade to a plus or pro plan and pay me for it. So this is getting to the point where, like, you could turn a product into an actual business. For this, I would connect it to Stripe, and I would use the Stripe payments API, and I would connect this up, and this wouldn't take long at all now. And like I mentioned before, this would be something where I thought, okay, I have no idea how to do this. I'll look online, ask a question, and probably get slaughtered by a bunch of software engineers who can see that I'm just like a total loser in this area and I have no idea what I'm talking about. Now it doesn't matter. I can just ask AI to do it, and it will do it. And if it does it wrong, I'll ask it again, and it will just keep going until it's done. I can connect it to ChatGPT, and so when I ask it questions, it will send that off to ChatGPT, and then a few seconds later, it'll come back with a proper answer. And you can even do stuff like sending it photos or videos or voice clips or files and having it analyze those. And this is something that is super, super easy to build. This, for me to do my one, okay, fair enough. I'd spent a bit of time building those previous products, but now, like a few weeks on, I was able to build something of this complexity, and I think that's a huge jump. It's almost really is kind of an exponential improvement. So I've got about 20 minutes left. I'm going to quickly jump from here into another tool. So I'm hoping you guys can see Claude. Here, can I just get a message in the chat if you can see this? Can see Claude? Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Nice, nice. Let me get rid of the chat. So let's just try and build that little Brazil trip one that I mentioned earlier. In fact, I'm going to Italy, so let's do one for Italy. So I'll build it. It will probably have some problems, and so we'll iterate it a little bit, and then we'll see where we go. So let's say build for me a web app for my trip to Lake Como in Italy. Show me the local weather and give me a checklist of items I need to pack. Let me check them off and have the item stop. Add another feature for adding my own items and deleting some. Add a tab for local attractions and a tab for local highly rated restaurants. Add some nice icons and make it beautiful. Let's see how we go. So that's quite a short prompt, but I've tried to give it what's in my head. Let's test it out. And so one of the questions that I always get with talking about this stuff with people, and I was just at dinner the other day, and I was talking to my friends about it, and the question that they kept saying is, how can I see what I'm building? This is what I want to know. The good thing about Claude is it has this feature where you ask it stuff, you see it start writing the code, and you don't really have to deal with the code at all, which is cool. But as soon as it's done, you see it live on the page. And so you can see here, it's finished doing it. We've got our tabs up at the top. It looks pretty nice. It's a little bit strange. We've got the temperature, weather, we've got the wind, our packing list here, so I can cross some items off. Let's add a new one. Let's say hat and sunglasses. Can add a new one to the list. I can remove it. Let's check out the attractions. Okay, we've got some good ones here. And then we've got some local restaurants. Okay, that's super nice. So now let's make it a little bit nicer. Let's try and improve it. So let's say make it look a bit nicer. Make the background color off-white. Move the weather information into a colored bar at the top. Let's say in the restaurants tab, add a button to navigate to the address and the rating and price for the restaurant. And good. Try that. Okay. Interesting. So this is what I mean about doing it kind of iteratively. So you're just gradually like telling it what you want and you improve it. And then you see it and then you think, okay, if I was going to use this, cool, but it's missing this other thing that I think would be nice. And so you can just gradually ask it to do more stuff. And the good thing about Claude, like I mentioned before, it works on mobile and it works on your laptop, but you can also, with these small tools and stuff, this is great having it here, but it doesn't feel much like an actual app. I can actually publish it from here and get a link. So here we go. So you can see it already. It looks much nicer. We've got our weather bar at the top. We've got our attractions. Now it's done them in some nice colors. And in the restaurants, here we go. So we've got the ratings. We've got some more information, the price and the address, and then a button to navigate. So this is not too bad. You can see like very quickly how this took less than 5 minutes. I think it took me 4 minutes to do this. But this is something that feels like an app and it feels like something that you're used to using. And we could go much further than this. We could publish it from here. And in fact, I'll just show you how that looks. So if I publish it and get the link, and let's just go into open a new tab. Let's just paste this in. I'm not going to read that. Then you can see here, this is like an actual app and it kind of works. I can send this link to someone. I can open it on my phone. I could give it to a friend, whatever. And we could use this and we could come back onto it and check it out. Now, one of the limitations that you do have with tools like this is, especially Claude, is everything is contained within Claude. So it's not able to reach out beyond the bounds of this chat and talk to ChatGPT, or it's not even able to find the weather. This weather stuff is actually at the moment is not real per se. It's just information that is just written straight into the code. And so if tomorrow it was 30 degrees and I refresh this page, it would still show 22 degrees. It's not getting live information. And that's okay. That's just one of the limits of using Claude. If I clicked on this navigation button, it wouldn't actually be able to navigate in Google Maps or anything like that. It just wouldn't work. But it's easy to get beyond that. And I think recognizing the limitations is actually super powerful, because that is when you reach a point where you think, okay, now I need to get outside this tool and see what else I can build. So one of the tools that I had in the slide, you can see here, this is a tool called Replit. And Replit, it's more complex for sure, and you can probably see that from this code on the left hand side. It feels a lot more like I'm writing code. Luckily, I'm still not doing that. But what Replit does is it gives you the ability to then start using APIs and start connecting it to Google weather stuff, or connect it to Google Maps, or use ChatGPT, or connect it to Stripe. And you can do all of these things from just an AI chat within here as well. So you can start asking it messages, and it will give you the code, and you just copy it and paste it straight in on the left-hand side. It's still very easy to do. It's just the next level of complexity up. And beyond that, there's a button up here, if you can see, that says deploy. So this actually really lets you put it on a link, and not just some crazy like replit.app / like a bunch of crazy numbers and letters. Not even a crazy link like that, but I could buy like, I don't know, www.lakecomoapp.com, let's say, lakecomotripapp.com, and connect it to that domain. And I could deploy it there, and I could give that to anyone, and anyone could go to it from any device, and they would be able to use it, and it would look like a normal website, normal app, but it's all been built by AI. And as like a quick example, you can see this one here. To really test myself of like how long this took, I did this about 4 minutes before the class, and you can see here I've got a small chat area here. This is where I was typing my messages out in here, and I just hit enter. It gives me all the code, and I was able to just really quickly whip up something here that you can see. And same with Claude, I can ask it questions, I get the code, I paste the code in on this side, and I can even ask it to explain things to me as well. But I can see the stuff live on the right hand side, and that's super powerful to be able to have that feedback when you're building something super quick. Otherwise, you're stuck in this, almost like looking at a Word document. You've just got walls and walls of text, or walls and walls of code, which is even worse than text, because at least I can maybe read what's in a Google Doc. But I'm able to quickly whip something up, and I can even do some interactive stuff, ask it to give me some confetti. This took me like a couple of minutes to do, right before this call. And so, yeah, I'm not trying to rebuild Facebook, or I'm not trying to build like some crazy super complex app right now, but I'm at a starting point, and that's super important, I think. So if I jump back into here, the point that I really want to drive is that putting this technology and the ability to build in the hands of everyday people, like I mentioned, and actually giving them the freedom to create stuff, is going to be huge for tons of different companies. And I think that's going to be what really separates companies going forward. Not only just giving access to these tools to people, but just giving them the freedom to say, go out, experiment, see what you can build. And if you build something that solves a problem that you've got and saves yourself some time, then amazing. And if it just helps you, then amazing. If it turns out that it helps everyone in the company, then even better. And I think that's something that employees should be rewarded for as well. And like I say here at the bottom, the companies that don't do that, I think, are going to get left behind by teams that are much smaller and much more agile, and just a little bit more forward thinking. So I think it's a super interesting point. I think it's a skill that to me is a no-brainer to just mess around with, at least. But I feel like it's going to be a big part of the future. Thank you so much for joining this. I really, really appreciate it. I had no idea there was going to be so much interest. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been interesting. I've tried to keep it quite high level on this one. And then if you guys like it, I'll go more in depth going forward. I'll do more of these classes if you like it. Let me know what I should do next. Do you want more of these classes? Do you want me to build a community and put some people in? Should I get other people on to collaborate with and talk about these topics? Would you like to hear it from the point of view of investors? Would you like to hear it from the point of view of, I don't know, developers, doctors, agency people, designers, whatever? Um, let me know, and I will try my best to do whatever you want. But I'll reach out to everyone individually after this. I would love to hear what all of you think. I've had some amazing conversations just from posting this stuff online. I'm trying to create more content. I'm going to post this one on YouTube, probably this recording. I'm going to send it all out to everyone who's here, everyone who signed up, who's not here. I would love to have more conversations with people. So please reach out, ask me questions, let me know what you'd like to know more. And yeah, let's talk. I think it's a super interesting thing. I would love to see what you guys build as well. I think one of the things that I'm thinking of is kind of maybe like a small product studio going forward, like a small company, maybe like a few people who are really smart, who know how to build stuff, but maybe have their own individual skills, able to design stuff or able to market stuff or things like this. I think that's going to be the future of like a lot of companies building that way, is like small teams building stuff, trying to put it out, and then when something takes off, then kind of running with it. So yeah, I think it's so interesting. I would love to hear what you guys think. Let me see if I can view the chat. Sweet. Thank you guys for being so engaged in the chat as well. I hope you've enjoyed it. Yeah, Livia, we can absolutely do one on mobile app specifically. I would love to do that. I've got Tyrone from Dubai here. That's super nice. I feel like a Twitch streamer or someone like talking to my chat right now. Honestly, thank you so much for joining. I really, really appreciate it. This has been awesome. Let me see. Ian, thank you so much for your message. I've been working in tech for 40 years and haven't explored AI. I think it's going to be huge. I think so many people who have been in tech a long time are still going to be so early to this stuff beyond like a lot of people. And so I think just being here, you guys aren't late by any means at all. I'm really just a few months ahead. Jamie sent $10. Thank you, much appreciated. Yeah, this is awesome. Thank you so much. Chuck in some more questions. I would love to see how I can help. I actually managed to finish early for probably the first time ever. Let's see. Kurt says, would you say Claude is a beginner's tool or a little more intermediate? I would definitely put Claude at the beginner level. I think it's the easiest one to be able to get up and running with and just build something that you can click the buttons around and test and stuff. Just try recreating like some of the ideas that I said earlier. Stuff like what I did one the other day, which was I built like a small app where I said I've got a LinkedIn post, which is what I said about this tool, and I said let me paste in the LinkedIn blog post and then analyze it, give me a rating out of 100 on a bunch of different benchmarks, tell me how engaging it is, how concise it is, stuff like that, and then give me like a rating and stuff, make it look nice and have some nice colors and things. And that was something that was useful. It was useful to me immediately because I needed it at the time. And that was super easy. And then I would say definitely Claude's on the beginner level. Replit is a little bit more in the middle. It'll take a bit more time to get used to, but when you move on to Replit, you'll be able to build stuff 10 times more complex than you could on Claude. And then Cursor is a bit more even beyond that. I hope that helps. Jamie said, I get a lot of emails with documents that I want to upload to our CRM. Could I build something for this? A Chrome extension? Let's see. Yeah, super easy to build. Zapier, like you mentioned, is a perfect one for that. You can easily connect it. So whenever you get an email with an attachment or with a specific subject line or something like that, it checks in the email, pulls off the attachment and then uploads it to a folder. Maybe you can then set up another automation where anytime a new file lands in this folder, then it will automatically upload it to the CRM. You could do that super easy. So Jamie, shoot me a message. We'd love to show you how to do that. Amelie says, any other tools that you think would be intuitive to use for beginners? Yeah, there's a really good one actually called v0.dev. I'll just put it in the chat. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to send it to the meeting room. It doesn't exist anymore. How to do, won't let me send it for some reason, but it's v0.dev. If you want to check it out, and basically it kind of replaces my job. So it replaces design. You can type in like, I want an app that does blah, 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 whatever, a language learning app, let's say, and it will generate the interface for you. And then you could take that code that it generates as the whole interface. So you don't have to worry about design. You already don't have to worry about the code, but now you don't have to worry about the design either. You can copy that code and paste it into a tool. And then you've got, let's say, Claude building the functionality, and you've got V0 building the design. And then you just throw them both in and let it go. Oh, yeah, nice one. What else? James Craft says, when I hear buzzwords such as designing in no code, low code, is this the same as what you've showed tonight? It's not a dumb question at all. It's a great question. So low code and no code tools have existed for a long time. They're kind of like builders almost, where they still have some great functionality for sure, and you can definitely build real things. I've used them myself. Where you kind of stumble on those is that there's a lot of constraints, and almost in the sense that I don't know, let's say you can connect it to payment tools, but you can only use one or two payment providers that they allow you to use, or let's say even just the design. That's the thing that's always got me kind of hung up on them, is that I can't make it look the way I want, which is like a big point to me. I'm a designer, like I want my stuff. I made the point in the chat that I want the design to be good, because I think that's going to be a big differentiation point for apps going forward. But if I can't design it like that, then it kind of frustrates me a bit. I hope that makes sense. It's not exactly the same, but it's not totally different either. I think this is kind of the next level on. And I think a lot of those no code or low code tools might just kind of like fizzle out eventually. Rodney says, great session. Thank you, Rodney. Haven't seen you in a long time, so I hope you're well. Have you found your design skills have helped you to build products? Yeah, it's big. So you make a good point that typically the first versions of things that you built don't have the best UI. This has been something that I've really struggled with, where I've always like focused more on the design, and I've tried to make the UI look great, and then I've got onto the building side, and that's when I've run into the stumbling blocks of like not being able to build what I want. I'm doing the opposite now. I'm really, really pushing myself to focus on the functionality, make sure it's working. Doesn't matter if it's super, super ugly. And then once I know it's working, then I start pushing the UI. And I've seen, if you start looking at this topic on Twitter a lot of the people that are doing stuff on there, they are just focusing on the functionality, and they're not even touching design at all. And so I think if you've got the ability to just persevere a little bit on the UI side, get the functionality working, then push a little bit on the design, then I think you will see that it's very easy to stand out against a lot of the other ones. Remy says, what am I most excited to test with the new open AI model? I actually don't know. Like, I've seen so many people posting stuff, and I haven't had enough time to really properly test it out. So I'm super, super interested. Ron said, can you use app building tools like this together with other apps like Adobe Illustrator to incorporate your designs? I think I'm understanding the question properly, but the way that I'm doing it is, well, you can absolutely do it in the sense that, let's say I could design something in Illustrator or Figma or any kind of design tool like that. I could design an app, get it looking exactly how I want, and then I can just give that to Claude or Replit or whatever. I can give it the image of the thing and say, please design the app in this style, like recreate this UI. You can totally do that. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good at doing it. There's other ones as well. Like I'm using a lot of my clients, they need to use stock photos for stuff. I've basically stopped all of my clients who were using stock photos from doing it, because now I'm using Midjourney, which is an AI generating AI to be able to generate really, really high quality stock photos. So it's not exactly like Adobe Illustrator, but it's AI related. I think you'll find it interesting. Plus, Ron, you are like a filmmaker, videographer. I think for storyboarding as well, I think it's super interesting. Like being able to just generate high quality storyboards of exactly what you want will help you like tell the idea really well. So Jamie says, legend, thank you so much. Kurt says, great session. You're unnatural. Thank you so much. Matt says, a deep dive into building a more complex app. I would love to do it. It's probably going to have to take longer than an hour, or maybe I break it up into some sessions. I would love to do it. I would love to work on one together, and have you guys in here. We can actually properly chat about it. From the prompting, iterating on the product. Yeah, we could do all of that stuff. Ash says +1. Josh says, how easy would it be for a dev to pick up and run with the code built through this process? So this is a great question. I think there's probably a slight disconnection where maybe the code that it generates, and to be honest, I don't even know if this is the case or not, but I think the code may be better than a lot of developers, right? It might be far worse than a lot of them, right? But I'm also wondering if you could just give an existing code base and all of the code files to AI. So on Replit, for example, you can connect it directly to GitHub, which is where the projects are stored, like all of the code files. And I reckon you could say to it, build new features, but write it in the same style of coding as the rest of the project has already been designed in. I think that's super interesting. What else was I going to say? One thing that I'm really interested in, and I've been exploring, is let's say I have an idea for a product and I can build it, but I run into some stumbling blocks or hurdles that I actually can't get past, but I can build like the MVP or like the minimum version of it that actually is working. I'm super interested in how can I take that and then give that to a developer. Like maybe it's a friend or someone who wants to collaborate on it with me, or maybe it's someone who is just like a contractor on like Upwork or something like that. Can I give the code to them, let them get over those blocks and build the functionality a bit better, make it actually a little bit more scalable? And then just let me focus on the other stuff. Maybe I can focus then on the marketing or blah, 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 any of this kind of stuff. I hope that makes sense. Vic says, who's my dad's so nice to have here and here. That's super, super nice. A lot of the low code tools are very expensive too. They get super expensive. And you are kind of constrained in their little environment. Like sometimes you can't build the features you want. You're just kind of locked into what they let you do. Amelie said it'd be great to know if there's any security considerations when using APIs. So there almost definitely is. One thing, I don't know if you've ever explored APIs, but they usually have tons of documentation. What I've started doing now is just giving the documentation link, like docs.stripe.com, let's say, I think it's the Stripe one. Just giving that to the AI and then letting it run with it and say, here's all the docs for the API, go through and connect it. But then you can just ask the AI to oh, sorry, Winnie, I'm so sorry, it was Winnie, not Amelie. So yeah, sorry for that. You can just ask the code to tell you what's going on in the API. Just say to it like, are there any problems with security in this? What should I be aware of? Like, is there any potential problems that I'm going to run into? One of the things that like is definitely a benefit of using using these like AI tools to write the app is like if I was going to learn to code and write it myself, there would almost definitely be like huge problems with the code, security wise or anything like this. And so if you ask the AI to do it, the chances are that it's going to write the code a lot better than especially someone who's like beginner level could do. So yeah, let's see. I hope that answers the question though. It's an interesting point. It's worth like exploring more for sure. So Ian says, have any devs you know commented on the quality and readability of the code it produces? I've managed a team of devs and done it a bit myself who've been asked to adapt low code developed apps. Yeah, so I was actually having a really good conversation with a friend the other day who he runs a company called TutorBlock and lets kind of anyone be able to teach us a skill and monetize that skill in the style of a tutor. So he designs the website himself in Webflow, which is kind of one of these like no code builder tool kind of things. It's not entirely no code, but it's like halfway point. And then he gives the code from there to his brother, who is his developer, who then builds the actual website out. He said that the code that Webflow puts out is absolutely horrendous and is super difficult to deal with. And so we were literally having this exact conversation the other day, and I was actually supposed to tweet it out today to ask and see if anyone knows. This is a question that I think is such a huge point. If we get to the point, and I don't know, we might even already be there, where the code that it writes is as good as a normal developer would write, or at least readable by a developer, then that's huge. I definitely think we are very, very close to that point if we're not already there. One of the ways that I do it whenever I'm writing code using these tools is I say to it, write comments in the code extensively, like make it very, very detailed, make it super simple to understand. Tell me what everything does, like absolutely every little small part of code. Tell me what it does, what it affects. If I change it, what's that going to change? Anything like that, really. And just because I want to be able to, if I like as someone who doesn't know how to code can come in and understand like, okay, this part of the code affects this. If I tweak this, it's gonna change this. If I can understand that, then for sure, someone who's far more talented will be able to do it. I hope that answers the question, Ian. Look, it's 7:05 now. There's still 22 people here. I'll leave it on for a couple of minutes if anyone's still got any other questions. But like I said, I'll follow up with everybody individually. I really, really appreciate it. This has been super nice to have so many people interested. I've had some really crazy conversations in the last few weeks, and I've met tons of people just by posting this stuff. So whether it's good or bad, you're probably going to be seeing much more of me talking about this topic on LinkedIn, on social media, stuff like that. So I hope you don't mind. Feel free to mute it if you don't. But I would love to connect and talk more about it. So yeah, I really, really appreciate it. Thank you all so much for coming. Hope you have a wonderful evening. And I will see you all soon. Thank you so much. Ciao.